Still on the ministers that were sworn in yesterday, let's take a sort of a segue. Just about, well, there are a number of ministries that are new additions, shall we say, to the whole, federal cabinet. One of those that must have caught a lot of people's attention is the Blue Economy Ministry for the Blue Economy. That would have caught a lot of people. You do get a sense of what it could be about. Blue economy, it probably means the waters, the seas. Indeed, it does. And it's such an involved affair that I just say to myself, well, thank God we caught on. And thank God we caught on, and we're going to pay it the attention that it deserves by actually having a ministry for it. Anybody could find that out if we just check out Blue Economy on the internet. Then you find that people have been way ahead of us. They say in Europe alone, they've estimated that somewhere in the region of 2.5 trillion euro is the value of what can be extracted from there annually. Okay, I have an expert in-house this morning. My expert is, I should really say our expert, because he's going to be talking to us, Dr. Emeka Akabogu. Dr. Emeka Akabogu is a maritime law and policy expert. He's senior partner, Akabogu and Associates. Dr. Akabogu, good morning, and thank you very much for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Indeed, it is our pleasure. And as I was saying, I hope I didn't say too much rubbish in there in relation to the blue economy, because it seems like such an exciting potential for Nigeria to now key into. Maybe I'd start like very, very simple in the way that perhaps a secondary school student, a GSS student, will be able to fully grasp what we're talking about. So when we talk about the blue economy, so what exactly does that imply, and what is the potential of it?
Okay, thank you very much once again for having me. The blue economy is a global concept which has been developing significantly in the last 20 years or so.
Mm-hmm. We've never heard about it in Nigeria.
Of course, unfortunately, there's
been 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there's been advocacy for it in Nigeria, but previous governments have really not paid much attention in that direction.
Okay. And do you think that was a mistake?
Certainly, it's a big mistake because
to not have done so.
Because we are looking for resources. We are a country of 200+ million people. We need all the resources we can get. And if we've got resources right at our backyard, available to be tapped, and we're not doing that, we're not doing ourselves any good. So really, I think it's a good idea that, in fact, I do commend the president for setting up this ministry. It's going to open up completely, it's going to chart completely new vistas for the Nigerian economy, and we're really looking forward with excitement to what it will bring.
Okay.
Hopefully, if things are done properly. Okay? But back to your question on what the blue economy is all about.
And its potential.
And its potential is good. So the blue economy essentially is the aggregation of the economic activities which are related to and could arise from the oceans and waterways generally. So you're talking of waterways within a country, waterways that adjoin a country. So Nigeria has the blessing of being a littoral state, which is a coastal state, okay? We have about 850 kilometers of coastline. And under the law, we have about 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone into the oceans. So
before you go further,
yes.
When you just said nautical miles there, most people have a concept of what a mile is.
Yes.
Is a nautical mile equal to or slightly less than or slightly more than the mile that everybody knows about?
Now, a nautical mile is approximately equal to 1.8 kilometers.
Okay.
So
and wait a minute, I'm going to work that out. And then how many kilometers in a mile then?
I think in a mile,
because there are too many.
In a mile, you have about 2 about 2.3, 2.4 kilometers in a mile.
Because 40
thereabouts.
kilometers equals what? 40 kilometers is equal to 25 miles an hour on your speedometer.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, but what is interesting is Nigeria's ocean resources are, at the very least, the size of many, many big countries.
Just our what ocean resources?
Yes, Nigeria's ocean, the ocean area over which Nigeria exercises control by virtue of Nigeria's exclusive economic zone is, at the very least, about 310,000 square kilometers.
Is that what they call a country's territorial waters?
The exclusive economic zone. The territorial waters is more limited.
Okay.
The territorial waters relates to the area over which you exercise sovereignty. However, the exclusive economic zone, you don't exercise sovereignty over it, but you exercise exclusive control over the commercial benefits.
Another country can't come and be taking resources from there?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the point I'm making is that Nigeria has exclusive rights over an area that is in excess of 310,000 square kilometers, which is bigger than many countries. Now, how does this relate to the ocean economy? The ocean economy is a completely different and exclusive economy on its own from the economy of the country. So if we are able to do all we are doing within the physical landmass of Nigeria, which is about 900,000+ square kilometers, essentially it means that if you divide Nigeria's landmass into 3, Nigeria still has almost another country that is the size of that 1/3, over which it has not really done much. So the blue economy encompasses every economic activity which is related to the oceans and the waterways. Now, Nigeria has about 10,000 kilometers of inland waterways. So you're dealing with shipping, which is the more traditional component of what we already know, shipping and transport, maritime transport. But you're dealing with other more significant components. Telecommunications, you've got a lot of undersea cables. When we talk about the broadband, which we talk about, a lot of them come from undersea cables. You're dealing with the significant aquaculture components. So Nigeria's fishing industry is on a very low scale. A significant component of these major fishing finds are offshore Nigeria, over areas upon which Nigeria exercises control, but Nigeria essentially is leaving it to foreigners to forage and get the benefits of. You've got a lot of potentials in areas of biotechnology, undersea mining.
I was going to ask that.
Absolutely.
Undersea mining.
Yes,
but
yes.
This sounds like very, very advanced in terms of the technology you bring to it.
Well, of course it needs advanced technology, but it also delivers advanced earnings, significant earnings to a country, okay? And because it needs advanced technology is no longer the rocket science that is unavailable to anybody. What we need to do, one of the things we've advocated for a long time, is that Nigeria needs to have an ocean governance framework, which really is one of the immediate challenges I'm going to pose to the new minister. We need to set up an ocean governance framework, which essentially maps Nigeria's ocean resources and sets a strategy for its exploitation and for collaborations where we need to have collaborations. So we stop a scenario where you have a large number of potential economic activity being undertaken by foreigners without any control, and the resources which are not being conferred on Nigerians. So beyond the oceans, you also have the inland waterways. I've said that we have about 10,000 kilometers of inland waterways. So essentially, if we're having a Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, you have a situation where you have the traditional understanding of maritime industries, which incorporates ships, ports, cargo, and the facilitation of the movement, which in itself is significant. In fact, as significant as it is, it has been underexplored over the years, which is the traditional maritime economy that we all know about.
We all know about that. That's
Nigeria is barely scratching the surface on that traditional component.
Is that because we're not seen usually as a maritime nation in the same way as what the Netherlands, for example, all those places that are traditional maritime nations?
We are a maritime nation. And
well, we have ships.
We do have ships. People know we're a maritime nation, but we have suboptimally explored the potentials of these industries.
Right.
Okay.
We've been lacking in that regard.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the maritime industry potentially can earn much more for Nigeria than the oil. But for some reason which I really still can't explain, over the years it's been given suboptimal attention. Even if you look at the National Bureau of Statistics and what it assesses as the revenue from that industry, it is underreported. Okay. So these are potential areas. So the fact that you have a ministry that has now been created, which focuses on this area, is music to the ears of many people who understand, because it means that economic activity will be prioritized for this area, and it can start generating the kind of resources and income which it ordinarily should for the country.
Sorry, when you said resources from the blue economy in our country here has been underreported, is that because it's been underexploited, or has it been intentionally underreported?
Well, it's been underexploited.
Okay, one.
Okay, it's been underexploited, and we've had a continuous repetition of government policy which doesn't pay attention to that industry. That's number one. And number two, which is more unfortunate, is that we've had a succession of administrators and leaders who do not realize the importance. And even when they know, they are paying attention to things which are just right in front of them, which they can readily get.
Hanging fruit.
Absolutely. Okay? So, and I'll give you an example. As far back as 2003, sorry, Nigeria passed what is called the Cabotage Act, which actually gives opportunity for Nigerians to earn significant wealth from ownership and operation of ships in Nigeria. Till date, that act has largely been implemented in the negative. Okay? Nigeria has an IMASA Act, which equally gives Nigerians an opportunity to earn significantly from the maritime industry through a maritime fund, through options for national carrier status, but these have been suboptimally exploited. You have many cases, briefcase scenarios, where politicians come in, they identify someone, they say, really, we hear that maritime, there's something in maritime. Somebody goes and, okay, what is available? And they're simply looking very short-sightedly at what is readily available at the fringe, on the fringes. But when you have a whole world of potentials which could be explored. So for the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, what I see as that should be an agenda for that ministry should be twofold. So on the one hand, there's the traditional maritime industry, which we need to pay attention to, and we need to set priorities for. Okay, we should have something in the nature of a maritime optimization agenda for that industry. Okay, because as much as we're excited about the blue economy, we need to optimize what is readily available, and we have not done that, and we need to start doing that. So that's one. And then two, we need to have an ocean governance framework, as I've said before.
Okay.
So these two strategies in place would facilitate significant growth.
So as other experts are saying, this is definitely, if done right, this is definitely going to boost, enhance our economy from a sector that, even though we've been touching it, we haven't exploited it. I mean, I was surprised to learn that in just Europe alone. And I think when we were talking about it before going on here, you said that might even be slightly underreported. 2.5 trillion euros per annum is what they're extracting from there. You said that these are some of the things that you, when you meet up with the minister, that's former governor of
Oyetola.
Oyetola.
Yes.
He is the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. So he has his work cut out for him. There's so much going on in there from what you are saying now that, quite frankly, Nigerians have a lot to be looking forward to once you have a person with competent hands, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
That will that will bring the whole party together to do that which needs to be done. Okay, now, are we going to have to invest much more than we already are in it, or can we take the infrastructure such as we have that has been sort of underexploited, as you have said, and just get a lot more efficient in that? Or is it, explain that whole area to us.
Okay, there's got to be a combination of both. We do need investments, but that's not a big problem. Global investments are looking for markets which have clarity with regard to the framework for investments.
It's a very important thing you just mentioned, that word clarity, because businesses have complained often that you really don't know when you go to Nigeria how good you are for how long.
That is the fundamental component of one of those things which needs to be put in place. And that's why I say for the oceans and the blue economy, you need an ocean governance policy which does not exist and which needs to be put in place. Okay? That is an immediate task. Now, as that task is going on, you ask about low-hanging fruits. Now, the Nigerian maritime economy traditionally is earning, if I want to be generous, is earning at least is earning 20 times less than what it should be earning immediately. Now, it is a largely inefficient industry. And one of the targets is to immediately put in place a framework to optimize the efficiency of this industry, which will be by way of application of technology in mapping these industries. And once you do that, what happens? Existing operators have a lot of confidence boosted. You have immediately significant more activity than already exists. And then you've got that economic activity upon which to generate revenue.
Okay, but how about the capacity
Yes.
to engage with what you are suggesting? I say that
Yes.
From my very, very crude understanding of, look, remember when an armada came in to the country, of cement armada, as it was called in that time, there were ships that were stuck, just looking because the queue is too long, we just can't come in. So those are the kind of things that probably need to be thought about.
So that's the point I'm making about efficiency, okay? So you're making reference to the ports.
Yes, in particular.
The port operations need to be efficient. Ports are not about the land area or land size, even though the support is important. But if you've got efficient operations where technology is optimized, you can have your port working 24 hours, turning around 10 times the cargo it currently turns around. And the revenue is from turnaround. If Nigerian ports, for instance, are reputed to handle about 1 million TEUs of cargo annually, okay? But potentially, we could be handling 10 million TEUs per annum very easily by turning around faster. And once we establish a reputation of very fast turnaround within the region, you see that suddenly most liner services which call Africa would rather, or rather which call West and Central Africa, would rather have Nigeria as a hub, come drop all cargo destined for other countries in Nigeria, and go back, while feeder services, feeder services which feed the Western region and the Central African region begin to take effect. These feeder services very likely will be operated by Nigerians. Nigeria earns more revenue from the increased containers coming in. Nigerian professionals are more involved, and you see that automatically you can generate 10 times the revenue, 10 times the employment from the same sector which exists with the same infrastructure as you have today. So that's why I make reference to efficiency. When I think about efficiency, what am I talking about? A vessel comes into the port, and by the time the cargo is cleared from the port, it takes a minimum of 30 days in some instances. In some instances, more than that. When you should have a situation where vessels come into the port, cargo facilitation ensures that the cargo is out of the port within 48 hours.
Now.
Okay? Now, if cargo is lying within the port for 30 days, other cargo that should come in is unable to come in. Demurrage is counting on the one that is in the port. More costs to the Nigerian, you and I, will eventually buy based on prices that have been premium on prices occasioned by
inefficiency.
Inefficiency. So the point I'm making is we could potentially have cheaper cargo. Nigeria's port charges are among the highest in the world. It need not be. And the fact that the port charges are not that high would not affect the earnings of these ports, because the ports would automatically be in the position to have much more cargo turnaround. Okay? So Nigeria is framed in such a way this industry is framed in such a way to absolutely blow up in terms of revenues if you have an efficient framework.
And that's everything.
Yes, yes. Efficient, for me, efficiency automatically translates to increased revenue. So if the government is interested in revenue, the government should focus on ensuring that efficiency within the port system is optimized.
We clearly, I mean, I don't even need to be in government to say that clearly the government is interested in efficiency, because efficiency will mean more money, and that's what we sorely need to do a lot of things that we need to do. There are people, as you know, who are saying that we're leaning on oil far too much, and this seems to me to be one of those alternatives that can come up. There are a number of other questions I want to come back and ask you relating to water. And we're talking about the blue economy and what exactly it means. And also getting a sense of what Mr. Buega Oyetola, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, will be into. But in the meantime, good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for holding on. Go right ahead now, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Good morning to your guest.
Yes, Dr. Akabo.
Yes, Uncle Yori, when I was discussing the President's manifesto with a friend, he asked me, where is he going to get all this money from? I think it's beginning to unfold where the money is going to come from.
Potentially come
lawyer. There is a maritime lawyer. In fairness to him, Mr. Olisa Agbakoba. He's a maritime lawyer. He's been talking about this industry for years. He boasted that it can give us not less than 7 trillion naira a year if that sector is explored. So I'm happy that it's coming up now.
Yes.
We all know that even animals, you know, the gentleman that was talking about what can be explored, animals under the sea are like 5 times the animals on the ground that we see. That alone, but there's a lot of money there. So what I would advise is the government should, even if it is in consultation capacity, should bring along Olisa Agbakoba. He's been talking about this thing for years, but he was only relating to the National Maritime Authority then. And we weren't listening to him. Now that this time has come, somebody like that, in my view, should be brought on board as a consultant to see how this industry can be fully utilized.
Indeed.
That's my view.
Thank you very much for calling in. And it is now that where you just spoken about Olisa Agbakoba, SAN, saying that he could be brought about. Even our guest could be brought on board. I mean, I'm not advocating for anybody, because what is beginning to show now is that we actually have quite a number of experts. You've just mentioned Agbakoba, SAN. Here is Akabogu. And I imagine if I were to press you on it, you'd also be able to mention perhaps more than a handful of other experts.
Absolutely.
Who know exactly what the score is and what we're talking about. Okay, Dr. Akabogu, let me go into the other area of that could be a bit confusing to some of us. We're talking about the water resource, the maritime and blue economy, Ministry of Maritime and Blue Economy. That has to do with water. How about water resources? There's also water. Well, I know those in government won't be confused, but for the rest of us, they say, blue resources, since you guys are talking about water, there's no dry land involved in blue resources. We already have water resources. Can it not subsume, or are they different, and can they be kept apart?
There's a saying that water is life, okay? So I believe, I don't understand the civil service application of that, but Ministry of Water Resources, I believe, is focused on ensuring adequacy of water supply.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Adequacy of water supply to the citizenry.
Yes.
Which is different from the commercial exploitation of the waterways and the oceans. So if the Ministry of Water Resources is mandated to ensure that water supply is adequate for Nigerians, adequate for farming and drinking, then that task is a significant task on its own.
How about energy generation?
Precisely. Now, the blue economy is significantly wider than that. Okay, the blue economy is focused on commercial, economic optimization of value from the oceans and the waterways.
That's why we have economy in the name.
Precisely, precisely. So, and just talking about the waterways, for instance, let's leave the oceans for a while and let's stay inside the country at home. You know, we have 10,000 kilometers of inland waterways. That's significant. I mean,
within our borders.
Within our borders. You know the River Niger and River Benue? These resources within the country have tributaries, networks all across. Yet, we have very few river ports. Yet, a large percentage of these 10,000 kilometers of waterways are not navigable year-round. And if they were navigable, you know what will happen? A lot of the food, a lot of the exports which we need will be much more easily facilitated from the northwest, from northeast, through these waterways using barges, and exports will be much easier. Food availability in hinterlands will be much easier, and there's a significant river economy which needs to be boosted. Okay, so we need to now start rejuvenating existing river ports which we have, which have been left to lie fallow. We need to build new river ports. I mean, we all know. And
sorry, when you say not navigable,
yes,
what, they got clogged up, lack of maintenance, and
absolutely. You got it.
Okay.
And when it's not navigable, now the dredging ensures that rivers are navigable, or waterways are navigable. Dredging needs to be a continuous activity. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, whenever we think of dredging, we think of, oh, this high capital venture. However, dredging on its own is an economic venture. Because dredging, you win sand from dredging. You actually win sand from dredging, which could cover, more than covers the cost of the dredging.
Okay.
And it's a win-win. So you cover cost of dredging by winning sand, which you sell, okay? You ensure the water is navigable, which means that the communities that border these waterways are able to have an economy along the waterways, okay? Then you make it easy for us to connect from Lagos through Ondo to Onitsha, to Port Harcourt, to Baru, to Lokoja, to all the parts of the country that have waterways, okay? The roads which we have won't be as clogged as they are. So that there's an economy on its own relating to the inland waterways. And in that regard, it's important that there's lots of synergy too.